My mic was off. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show. I'm here today with my lovely wife, Sil, and I see Cece here is with us as well, just
Hello.
as lovely. And this is the pre-show where we just have a little chit-chat while everyone signs in. So how are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm doing good, especially because Cece's here.
Awesome. Our guest is here. He's in the background. He's nodding his head. I see him. So our topic tonight is paranormal experiences, EVP, and mediumship. So what do you guys think about those topics? And is there anything specific you think we should dive into tonight?
I'm always interested to hear from anyone who's a medium or a channeler and understand how they see or how they receive messages, but also how they can discern who or what they're speaking to and differentiate between various entities.
Okay, good question. Sil, what about you?
I think that's a really good question. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just writing it down. All right. I got a bunch of questions up my sleeves, but I will leave those until we get there. And I do have an icebreaker from Timmy today, so we're gonna get into that. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Sit back, relax, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Hello, everybody. Today is Thursday, January 20th, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator, citizen journalist, and the director of investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. To super chat, click the $ next to your name in the comment box, and if you're in the observation deck, put your questions inside the chat room, and I'll see it there. Our guest tonight for season 4, episode 3, is Gary Arnold. Gary Arnold is a married father of 2 who resides in Oxford, Pennsylvania. He currently works in academia as a writing instructor. His interests are travel, fine dining, hiking, fishing, fossil hunting, and raising exotic pigeons. This is very interesting. I want to get into that. He is also a paranormal experiencer who has created 2 short documentaries about his continuing investigation on EVP, which is electronic voice phenomenon. Gary has been featured on the Nashville Country Television Network, in newspapers, and most recently he hung out with and shared forensic data with Discovery Channel's Real Life Indiana Jones, Joshua Gates. So tonight's theme, Gary interacts almost daily with, ethereal entities who claim to be alien, otherworldly, and tonight he will share his experiences. So tonight's theme is paranormal experiences, EVP, and mediumship. So Gary, put on your tinfoil hat.
All right.
Today? How are you doing today?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Sorry, my Siri is listening.
That's all right.
That's all right. Good to have you. So what we normally do is we'll kick off the show here with the icebreaker from Tim the Demon Guy Morrison. So 1 second here. So you've been on the show, you've seen the show many times. I'm sure you know what this means. Tim the Demon Guy will give me a question, the first question of the night. I'm reading it for the first time, and that'll be the icebreaker. So
sounds good.
All right. So sometimes they're weird, but we'll see. So his question is, they are weird. If you could live in anyone's head for 15 minutes, being John Malkovich style, so that's in brackets, whose head would you choose?
15 minutes. That's not very long. How about 15 minutes? How about Bono? Okay. U2's lead singer, Bono. Yeah.
Okay. And what would you tell him for 15? Or I guess you're in his head, so I guess what information do you think you would get from that?
I think I'd try to give him inspire him with some lyrics or something. I think U2, some of the lyrics have gone down to mediocre lately. Okay. They used to. I followed them because I'm 54 years old, so I've followed U2 since they came out in the early 80s and MTV and stuff. But I think recently, well, they haven't toured recently because of the pandemic and stuff too. I understand that, and I've seen them in concert. And they're still my favorite band. But recently, some of the songs aren't just, they don't grip me in the same way. Now, maybe I've changed too. We've all grown older. But yeah, so if I could be in Bono's head for 15 minutes, I think I'd add some edge, literally and figuratively, to their music.
Okay, I'll accept that. That's a good answer. I was just thinking for me, I would take that and I would go into like Parliament, the Prime Minister for us, and be like, UFOs for like 15 minutes and say like, tell us
the truth.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. All right. Well,
it was just, again, that was just what came to mind. So I didn't know your question. So this
that's the whole point of it. It's an icebreaker. So we're here, we're having fun, we're being normalized. And then my first question, which I always do, is why are you the way that you are? And what I mean by that is how did this guy who's sitting in front of me get here? So walk me through, the beginning and lead me through your experiences. Let's talk about that.
Sure. I'm raised in a Christian household when I was younger, although I'm not a traditional Christian in any sense of the word, but just I've always had an idea, a concept of God, and I just culturally, I was raised Christian, but that prism and how I process information has continued through my life, like anyone, it's part of their culture. So in 2017, I have really just a normal life except for this strange phenomenon I'm going to describe. In 2017 in December, I would usually, a little backstory, work in academia. Like I said, you teach writing as an instructor and an academic support role. And I usually take my lunch break in the university library. And that's a way to get away from the kids and just a little time, for my lunch break without interruption. So even though the kids had gone home for winter break, I went over to the library just out of habit. And I decided, because it was right before my break was to start at the university, that I was going to read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And most people don't know that's a very short story. And we see the TV version, with, they make it a couple hours long, but it's a short read. And I was there and there's nobody in the library. I understand there's nobody there. And I was at the top floor of the library and I get this really strange coated crystalline ear ringing sound, and only in my right ear. All right. And this is my right ear here. And it was so different because everybody gets ear ringing from time to time. And I've been to concerts and stuff. So you end up with a little ear ringing there, especially if you don't wear any earplugs or anything. And I've liked loud music, but this was so different. I say ear ringing. It wasn't anything like ear ringing in a traditional sense. It was very, like I said, coded, almost like a Morse code, but very fast, crystalline, and annoying. Now, the thing is, I'm very old school when it comes to technology and stuff. I don't have a smartphone. All right. I have track phone. This is the A205. It's Alcatel 205G.
It looks holographic. It looks high tech with it like disappearing in and out.
Yeah. Little Star Trek there.
I don't have much. I just have the best phone that ever existed.
Well, I bought this from the local Rite Aid with my daughter because my wife, she was like, man, I need to be able to connect to you. Everybody else has a phone. Yeah, I have my office phone. But, if I'm out of the office, walking across campus or anywhere, she wanted to be able to reach me. And I understand that because she's tech savvy. My kids are tech savvy. And I'm like, okay, I'll go out and get a phone. So I go to the local Rite Aid in Oxford with my daughter, and I'm looking for a cheap phone, just so somebody can, if she wants to call me, she can call me. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking, and they have a $10 old school A205, an Alcatel 205G phone on the shelf. And I said to the clerk, and my daughter can vouch for this, and I said, hey, it doesn't have any features. It's not smart. I mean, it's pretty basic. It does have a voice recorder. It does, have a calculator and things, and it can make calls. But, I said, I'll give you $5 for it. And the lady looked at me and she's like, you know what? Okay, $5. So I got this phone for $5. Now, at the time, I didn't know that it would change my life in a sense that, in an unforeseen way. So I got back to the story where I'm in the library. All right. And this strange noise comes in my right ear only. And I think there's a thought that pops into my head that, hey, I have this old school Alcatel A205, G track phone, and it has a voice recorder feature. Maybe I can record this annoying noise because I can't figure out what this noise is. And this noise is going on for about 45 seconds. Anyhow, so I turn my phone and click on that feature, push record. Upon playback, I expected to hear some kind of squelch or some kind of noise. Upon playback of the recording, instead, I hear a voice whisper my name, say Mr. Arnold. Okay, now students call me Mr. Arnold, all right, in a professional sense, because I'm not a professor or anything like that, but so I make them call me Mr. Arnold. So I looked around and thought, man, is there a student here? Because they went home on break. And I kept looking around, trying to figure out, well, how did this person's voice just get on my phone? But, as it was a novelty, and I couldn't figure it out. And I thought, well, okay, maybe somebody's spoofing me. I even looked around to say, is somebody playing a trick here? Mm-hmm. Because it was unexpected. Instead of hearing the noise that I recorded, that I hear only in my ear, I don't hear voices in my head. I only hear that noise. But instead, there's a voice on here that whispers my name, and I have those clips and stuff I can share with you anytime. All the raw clips that haven't been enhanced that you could say, oh, again, I like to keep it real. Mm-hmm. So curiosity got the best of me because I left the library perplexed. I did not sit down and finish reading Charles Dickens. I think it was just like, well, I need to think about what was that. And So the next day, I come back to take my lunch break, and I'm thinking, will it happen again? Will lightning strike twice? Because I couldn't figure this out. So I'm starting to eat my lunch break, and I start hearing that noise again. This time, I thought, I'm going to ask some kind of question here. What is this? Because again, it was so annoying. So I ask, is anyone there? Upon playback of that recording, you don't hear the annoying noise. You hear an emphatic yes, people. Okay, now I'm worried because I can't figure this out. I'm like, well, all right, is somebody playing some kind of elaborate joke? Are they somehow able to beam a signal into just my right ear? It doesn't make sense. Again, it's localized just to my right ear. And so now I'm starting to think maybe there's something wrong. All right, so I tell my wife, because before I didn't tell her, I told my wife, I said, there's something strange going on here. Maybe I need to see a doctor. And I explained the situation. And our family doctor, I ended up making an appointment because I was worried, because I could do this every day. and it was localized at the time just in the library. All right. So I talked to the family doctor, and he's like, okay, we're going to rule out everything. We're going to, we have to get the insurance company to pay for it. So how do we do that? We're going to say you're having audio hallucinations. All right. We're also going to do comprehensive full panel blood work. We're going to look for things, exotic things like Lyme disease, because in this area of the country, we have a prevalence of Lyme disease, and there's a chance that if it's in advanced stages, it can cause hallucinations. So we went down to look for a brain tumor, schizophrenia, everything. I had high contrast, detailed MRIs. Everything ended up coming back. I've never been healthier. There's no problem here. So, and I would play the recordings. I started to have recordings where I could interact with the beings and ask them a question every time this happened. And I would get an intelligent response. Now, understand, I want your audience to know the weirdest thing about this is upon playback of the recordings, before I ask the question, it is heard most times, 8 times out of 10. That's when they'll answer. So you'll hear an intelligent response to the question before I even ask it. So like, I asked about going to the doctor. They said the response, the being says, get the blood work, directly related to my question. So I play it for the doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, wow. The more you get into this, the more bizarre and twisted, because the interactions I started to build a rapport with entities. That's what they say, that they claim to be otherworldly and alien. I have the clips because I asked them, okay, what do you eat in your realm? They tell me they don't eat where they are, that they don't have age distinction. And so it ended up becoming something where once I had been able to go and jump through all the hoops and say, I'm not crazy, I'm not fake. There's nobody wants to fake some crazy stuff like this, that I'm able to speak to ethereal entities with an old school track phone. If somebody told me 5 years ago I'd be on a show like this talking about that, I would have thought that person was crazy. I mean, if I met myself on the street, I would think the same thing today. Because I'm just like, how can this be? But I started to enlist in other investigators, and I would ask the entities questions for other people, including remote viewing. So I've done some remote viewing for. Are you familiar with Robert Bigelow's team?
I am.
Yes. So he has a team. Colm. Are you familiar with Colm?
Not too familiar. I've heard of it in passing, but not too familiar.
So I started to do remote viewing, and the answers were coming back correct. All right. So for other people, then I got to the point where I asked the entities who claim to be alien, all this crazy stuff, and then they know my name, they know my wife's name. So I started to say, okay, and I was doing tests for these people, where we'd use the same make and model phone. We'd have all kinds of scientific tests. We put it in a Faraday pouch. Have you heard of it? Yeah. We'd use smartphones right next to these old school track phones, and we'd have them press the buttons simultaneously when the beings are interacting, and they let me know they want to talk. I can't summon them. It's not like a relationship where I can say, hey, I need you right now. They come when they want. They'll let me know that they want to interact with me by this sound. So only the old school phones for whatever. Now, again, I'm not a technical person. The researchers that I've interacted with, and they've done the forensic analysis and everything on the clips, they're all genuine. There's no hocus pocus. There's no attempt at fakery. You can take an audio file, and you can, just like a picture, a photograph, you can go pixel by pixel in a photograph to see, a computer can analyze it and see if it's been photoshopped or doctored. The same thing with an audio file, waveform by waveform, you can show this isn't faked. And how is it picking up a signal inside the Faraday pouch? So you end up with, these researchers had me doing this, and they said that the old school track phones, they don't have the modern day phones have filtering algorithms that take out the white noise. Old school phones still have a small percentage of white noise in them. All right. So that's what the theory that they're working with is. The researchers say that the beings are using ambient white noise. They're crafting it into what sounds like intelligible speech. Now, I'm familiar with pareidolia. All right. That's the people start to see patterns. They start to see what they want. People look at clouds and they see, a chicken or a bird or an angel.
But that's visual. Now we're looking at audio pareidolia as well, though.
Right. Audio pareidolia is real too. So what the researchers and we enlisted people who are using bleeding edge computer software to actually analyze the clips objectively. That it's not going to be affected by pareidolia. So is this? And at the end, the computer. Have you ever used like Google Translate? And they leaves a voice message on, let's say, your Google Voice, and the translator will translate the message into words that you can read. Well, this is many steps beyond that. The bleeding edge computer software not only is analyzing it waveform by waveform, the EVP portion, but they're able to make the suggestion of what the computer believes is being said. And the researchers, I've had different groups all over the world, and they're all coming to a consensus, which is the whole scientific method thing where, the theories are tested, not just, you have to have peer review. So I've gone about this in that sense. I've let these scientists, basically work with me and pro bono, so they help me, I help them. If they're doing research, they have questions about, there was a one from Bigelow's team, and they were looking for a shapeshifter. All right. Now I know some people are going, what on earth are you talking about? I'm talking about, this is something that you're familiar with, Skinwalker Ranch. All right. And you have entities who are able to change shapes to maybe look like a woman, but then it really isn't. And so I have, all this hard evidence. All right, I was involved in July 2020. I was involved in taking interacting with the beings, asking questions to find a shapeshifter. All right, who was on the run from some of Bigelow's team. A shapeshifter who they believe, they had evidence, had perhaps an influence, a negative influence on the Trump administration, because her grandson, the shapeshifter, has a grandson playing video games online with Barron Trump, Trump's son. So I was, this is all, I was, there was a political dimension to this too. And I have, I don't want to prop up anyone in QAnon. This stuff they're mischievous beings. These beings like to play games. But in September 2020, I asked the question that was on everybody's mind. I said, who is going to win the U.S. presidential election? All right. Now, the answer is loud and clear, and it's before the clip, Donald Trump. We all know that's not what happened. However, I was told I should bury that clip. By some of these investigators, they said, you shouldn't, this is dangerous, because this is the kind of stuff that stirs the pot. The entities, they enjoy playing games. They say they like playing games. When I do remote viewing with them, they will ask me, are we playing the game again? That, to them, it's a game. To me, it's like, I can't understand it. So I've asked questions for other people, and right away I'm like, okay, this is information. Like if somebody asked me what's on a park bench in Seattle, and in a certain colored can, all right, Planters peanut can, what's in that park in that can on that park bench? they give me 10 minutes during my lunch break to ask, and then I respond. I don't tell them what I hear. I just send the raw clip. Now, the being said the correct answer, a battery. All right. So now then the investigators say, wow, this is exciting. Let's do another. And then so it ends up being just by word of mouth. People start asking questions like, hey, could you do this favor for me? Now, understand, I always preface this. I'm not about interpreting the messages. I'm not about putting any stock in the accuracy. I'm staking my claim that these messages should not be there. All right, that whatever they are, they're intelligent responses that they can name things. They have access to information beyond my brain, beyond my cranium, that they can look at, for remote viewing purposes, other researchers, and find. With Bigelow's team, yes, they actually had a response that was correct where this shapeshifter, skinwalker, whatever you call it, was hiding. All this, again, I have concrete evidence. I interacted with the researchers, and it is just like, I can share this privately with you. But it scares some people. I've actually had death threats, anonymous people directed not at me, but at some of my friends and family. So I'm concerned that some people maybe who help me with research, maybe they're playing it both ways. I don't know. Maybe they're also saying, hey, let's send let's send his friends some kind of message to scare him. You want to trust people, but I can't naturally just trust people, because this, number one, is so outlandish, so crazy. When the beings say, like, we had a rabbit that died, all right, a family pet. And I say, okay, what's the name of our rabbit that recently passed? And you play it back, and right there at the beginning, the correct answer, Cuddles, right? But the beings affect the voice. When they answer about an animal, they will try to sound like a cartoonish version of that animal. So if the answer is a frog, they're talking like a frog to you. If it's a pig, they will make noise. They will try to sound like a pig. It is so absurd, so ludicrous. And again, I would never believe it if it weren't for the hard evidence. And that's why I enlisted. I'm actually working with people who, investigators, are also working on understanding the Havana syndrome. All right. Now, you probably are familiar with Dr. Gary Nolan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just, for New Year's Eve, I spent time interacting with him, and he's got researchers with Harvard. There's a whole network here of people who help. Yeah. So this is incredible stuff. And, I can only say so much. I can't say all the names because some of them, I'm under no non-disclosure agreements, though. So that's good. I've stayed out of that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So you keep mentioning evidence, though, hard evidence. Like, I have your website pulled up. Is it on your website, this evidence, or is this just to your person?
No, the hard evidence that I'm saying, there are examples on my website. Okay. There are examples you can listen to where the entity says, I ask a question with a selection of answers, like, are you alien? Are you spirit, or something else? It's all there, so you can listen to it. Then I break it down. Now, the documentaries, all I do with the document, the first one's Subterranean Seance. All right. And the idea was that there's something about these entities that's very earthy. I'm saying almost, some people think of nature spirits. In the Muslim world, there's something called jinn, Jinn. So there's a whole gamut of, I believe the entities are straight up with me? No, I have more than enough evidence to think that they're playing a game. But you have to start thinking, well, is there a reason that this couldn't be someone doing some kind of psych thing on me? I'm a nobody. All right. Mm-hmm. I have no political aspirations. I have no money. I'm not a trouble. I'm a regular Joe. All right, a regular guy. You can do the background check. I'm just a regular guy. If this fell into my lap, I'm not sure what to do with it. So I'm only devoting like 10% of my time to taking this message to people and say, hey, we got something. There's something going on here. I don't think it's a nefarious group of CIA operatives who they're beaming stuff at me, like Havana syndrome. But I've actually had, like, the one group that does the analysis of clips and stuff, thinking that people are being harassed by the government through, like Havana syndrome or something like that. They analyzed one of my clips, The clip, you at the beginning of the show, you mentioned how I raise exotic pigeons. I do. I've imported pigeons from the tropics, doves and stuff. They're so beautiful, especially the colorful pigeons from the tropics and the warm regions, tropical regions of the world, the rainbow pigeon, which I affectionately call a sherbet pigeon, green-winged doves. But I also have regular homing pigeons. Now, in 2020, in June, I had an extra pair of white homing pigeons. So the ear ringing happens. Now, let me tell your audience, I asked one day earlier in 2020, am I only tethered to the library for this interaction? The entity said no. Said, we will find, if you want us to come, we will talk to you anywhere. They do now, everywhere. I'm talking about at home, in the car, in the mall, crazy stuff in the middle of the park. They will interact. So I'm not tethered to any location. It started out in that library where I work. But then when I learned that, hey, this is something and it wasn't like I invited spirits home or anything, but some people think that it's demonic. And I'm like, well, these are the wimpiest demons. I mean, I know their weakness, and I've had them apologize to me when they've offended me. I know this is going to sound totally out there, but sometimes they can be so mischievous and even vulgar. All right. They can say things that are deliberately cruel about our species. They can say mean things about people. Not all of them. All right. There are a couple of exceptions where they're uplifting and positive, and somebody would say that's a positive angelic figure. But the weakness that I've found, and I call it for what it is, when they've offended me, and I said, I'm just not going to listen to you, because if I don't push record, if I don't turn my phone on and push record, I cannot know what they're trying to say. All right. There's no way the signal's there, but I can't understand it. So they need me to use the track phone as the conduit, as that translator. And it works great. I mean, it's not just one phone. I have all the track phones of this make and model are perfect. Some of them are network enabled. Some of them aren't. Doesn't matter. The digital voice record feature will work on all of them. Actually, I have had the blueprints of the phone, in one of the two movies I have out. They're really short documentaries, and they're priced less than a McDonald's Happy Meal on purpose, because I'm not trying to keep all this information just to me. But the thing is, the one is we deconstruct the track phone. We go into the guts, and is there a defect in the phone that's causing this to happen? Which again, it goes back to the scientists say this signal should not be able to come through a Faraday pouch. And number two, you're getting intelligent responses, and it's like they're reading your mind, all right, that they are anticipating what you're going to say. So they took this clip that I was referring to about pigeons, right? And I asked the ethereal entity, should I sell my white homing pigeons and white pigeons? And all right, upon playback, you hear an emphatic sell them, right? Now, I've had this on the FM radio. I've shared it with a lot of people, and it's also on that website I told you about. So you have that. Now, I had that clip analyzed. You understand the clip is just a few seconds long. They took the computer software and they analyzed the clip to a subliminal fingerprint level, which is below the audible. See, the EVP is still audible. It may be whispered. The subliminal level, they took and peeled away the layers of forensic data, audio forensic data. So now they were able to reveal that in the clip about the pigeons, where you hear me asking the question after the answer is sell them, that the beings are telling me to sell these pigeons. Then you peeled away. Now you have revealed a whole conversation going on below the surface of the EVP, where there's a man and a woman. I assign gender. That doesn't mean that these beings have gender. A man and a woman discussing how much will he get for the pigeon, and do you think it's a homer? All right, which homing pigeon? All these before I even asked the question. So again, it boggles the mind. It's just like how do we decipher this? If our government has created something, and I say the government, it could be a nefarious group. People with Havana syndrome. A lot of times people try to point the finger at the Russians, but if it is this, then we have developed some kind of ability where they can tap into your wave forms in your brain and anticipate what you're going to say before you say it. That's the only way I could figure. And I try to look for prosaic reasons.
There's lots going on there. So like you have, so there's that ability to receive the message.
Yeah.
However, that is transmuted. So we can speculate on that,
Yeah.
but you're able to receive the message, and then by using this recording device, is circumstantial evidence, but also direct evidence once it's validated. Which this process is amazing.
Yes.
That and those who are witness to the event can confirm that nothing's been tampered. So let's just assume all those variables are true in that event. But then you now have that extra level of confirmation that it's existing perhaps outside of your mind,
Yes.
because it would have to be in order to record, unless that device is somehow able to record our thoughts.
Correct.
Then that would be something completely different. But who knows? Maybe the government's smart enough to figure that out. We don't know yet. That would be like the hugest invasion of privacy.
Exactly.
But so you have that ability. You're able to pick it up. You're hearing conversations that weren't there.
Correct.
Now, have you ever gone in depth to be like, hey, tell me about you. Where are you from? Why me? What am I doing? Like, have you been able to have that conversation to get more direct?
Yes.
Are you able to do that right now? Like, not on the spot, but like,
right, I wish I could.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate. I wish I could just answer, right here and now, questions posed by your audience, have the ethereal answer.
That would be brilliant, but
it would be that would be the proof. I mean, not just evidence, but proof. No, and I wish it would be that simple. They usually keep their expressions to a few words. The answers are never more than a sentence. All right. So I have one. I said, well, why me? Like, there's the question. Yeah. And you have the being say, you're our favorite. Okay. What does that mean? All right. But it's manipulative. And I've called it. I said, this is an obvious manipulation going on. This whole interaction, what do you want me to do? I mean, I'm not making a deal with the devil here. All right. I'm just, some people think that it's so scary that you're talking to invisible, ethereal entities. Yeah. That's what they say they are. But my idea is that they could be something. You ever read Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who?
A long time ago, but
the elephant. I'm almost playing the role of Horton, the big elephant with the big ears.
Okay.
Trying to tell the jungle, trying to tell everybody, hey, the who exists. Something here doesn't make sense. So people, we isolate the phone. The researchers that they've had me, like I said, you can look online. I have the videos up from my interview with Dr. Gary Nolan. Everything's there for public consumption. If you go to that compendium site, it's got all the connections, and it ultimately have this interview that we're doing now. I'll also put it on the site. So,
Thank you. Am I looking at? Is this the right site that I brought up? Is this the site we're referring to, or is there another one? Okay.
That's it. So, and if you scroll down, once you go into it, you have to actually click on the section that has the and then you'll
read more. This part.
Yeah. That's where it opens up everything.
Okay.
My whole experience. All right. And again, this is We Are Not Alone Medium. That this is they let me have the page. It's a launch pad for all the things I've been in papers. Newspapers, as you said, I've been interviewed. Josh Gates, hanging, just so many connections. There's the make and model of the track phone. That's my go-to device because it works. It's nice and clean in the sense that you get really good EVPs with that device. And you can do side by side. The modern smartphones will not register it. If I even send the raw clip from the track phone to a modern smartphone, all right, that will not even register except my voice. The actual EVP portion will not be seen by the graphics on the modern smartphone. But yeah, you scroll down and it'll have examples. There's a lot of, stuff. I mean, it's chock full with stuff. And it's trying to get the audience that whole interaction, because later, explains my background. I like to play chess. So this is like a big puzzle to me. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Is there anything specific where I could find to play some of this evidence? Maybe.
Oh yeah, scroll down. So I mean, you
just let me know where that is here. I'm just.
You'll see down below. All right, now we're getting. I've done some in the cemeteries. You get all kinds of different voices. Some of them are children. And so some of them are female. Some of them are male. Some of them sound elderly. So continue scrolling. And my son is actually. he's going to revisit this. He says, I'm going to make it easier so people can just have all the evidence on one page, because I have everything. You just scroll through is like one giant page. So, and then my wife takes pictures and stuff. So that's for subterranean seance. That's me. It was in the paper. So they had a picture of me holding a rock, or rubbing me a rock. And continue scrolling down. And I've tried to not be too artsy fartsy with things, but obviously when I look at it, it's pretty much I'm trying to, have it all. Because the first documentary, I tried to make an EVP treasure hunt out of it too. You want to continue scrolling down. It's from the backyard of our house. The sun this summer had the haze from the smoke, the fires out west. That's a cool looking picture.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very nice.
But if you scroll down, you'll get to examples.
Yeah, no, I'm just going slow enough that those that are watching can actually look at the pictures.
These pictures were taken by Meng. She's a famous photographer from New York City. So she the whole idea of light and scattering, the idea of rainbows and all this stuff. She was going to have me pose with my rainbow pigeon at one point, but I'm like, that's not about the pigeons. It's about, so this is
what's this? What are we looking at here?
So you're looking at a graphic of an EVP of mine. All right. Where they're saying that they're alien. All right. So you'll go down, you'll be able to hear it in a moment.
Perfect.
But yeah, so this is some artwork done. And this is by Cameron Logan. Maybe you're familiar with him.
I am not.
Another paranormal investigator.
Okay.
So it's using the track phone again, that model and the whole concept of man and God and angelic beings. So we continue to scroll down. Yeah, this is, like I said, it's chock full. You could spend, honestly, at least half an hour. I know it says 17 minutes or something. That's a specific kind of fossil that, whatever reason, these beings like it as a symbol of what, and I don't understand it. It's a mystery to me. But this is a special kind of fossil you find only in Pennsylvania, St. Clair, Pennsylvania. It's like a ghostly fern fossil.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have some of those, and I'm like, okay, there's one, but it doesn't mean anything to me. But for whatever reason, they seem to like it. Now, this is my wife has one of these for a camera. It's like a crystal ball, and we're on the leaf litter. All right, so, and then again, this is kind of artistically done. You want to continue scrolling, you'll get to the more pictures, more. This
You're
is
a strong guy holding that rock. Strong guy.
Yes. So this is an alien 3D spectrogram here. All right. Okay. This is actually a part of the research they did. So this is just the part where they say they're alien. All right. So this is how it would look graphically. Now, if you scroll down some more, this one originally was the clip that took you up to the election and where it said that Donald Trump would win. All right. Now I chopped that part out. So if you play this, you'll hear the being say at a point, it's got some stuff in it.
So yeah, let's let everyone listen to it, and then we'll see what everyone hears. That way, it's not forced.
Yeah.
So let's give this a play here.
It's very quiet. I can't really hear the audio of the video.
So it's kind of difficult to hear with all that background noise. Okay.
Are you making that public? Because we can't. I mean, I can't hear it. You may be able to with your headphones.
Okay, I'll play it one more time. So no one can hear it at all, I guess? No one can hear it.
Yeah, I don't think we can hear it.
Okay, I'm just getting messages here. So, okay, let me...
If you scroll down further, you'll actually get to some of the real clips. This was, like I said, this was taken... This clip makes it hell for voting, and it went into the Donald Trump would win the election, which we all know that didn't happen. I'm just
going to make a quick change here. And that way, I didn't realize that no one could hear it. So 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm going to change to my onboard speakers here. and then I'll play it again. You should hear an echo in my, but I should be able to hear it. No.
Nope.
That's not working either. Okay, sorry about that. I'm not sure. I'm unable to play that live for some reason. I thought I could, but I guess I can't.
Well, it's on the website. If your audience wants to check out everything, including all kinds of sample clips, including the pigeon, there's all this stuff that I tried. Now, this is where the beings are speaking here too. At the beginning, this is me on the right hand side, right? And then they're answering that they're otherworldly.
Okay.
All right, and then the bleeding edge audio people. Here's so the otherworldly would be one of the ones you'd click on, the one below that. That's the visual, and there, that's the clip.
Okay, and so you need audio for that one too.
Right.
I'm not quite sure how I could tag this in live on the spot, and I don't want to eat up too much of the time. But let me see here.
So all of that is free. So
Okay.
what the little bit that I have, the 2 documentaries, like I said, the first documentary is called Subterranean Seance, and that came out in 2020, and that is twofold. It's artsy fartsy in the sense that it has an EVP treasure hunt, and then it has an investigation where I analyze several clips, and then basically say, hey, I'm looking for audience participation to help me analyze more. Then the second one, Frog Hollow Road, is the second one. Frog Hollow Road, second documentary, and I said both of these are priced like $2.99. They're really cheap on purpose because it's not like it's profitable. I want people to, but I have to host it somewhere, so that's where a few dollars there. But the Frog Hollow Road one is much more about the reports, about the forensic professionals who go on record, about more clips being analyzed and hired to a higher degree. And so this also comes with archives where a person can go through the reports at their leisure. I'll send them the reports, everything. So I want the audience to understand that this is some really crazy stuff, but these audio forensic professionals from all over the world, not just one group, because, I want plurality. I want people to come to a consensus using different techniques, but all the scientific method, in the sense the same process. And yeah, it's amazing stuff. It's scary to comprehend that this is, I've been able to do a lot of this on my own because of the open source software, the open sites that allow you to do things, to analyze on your own, things that 20, 30 years ago, no one had access to except if you had lots of money.
So
and now,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just trying to think, because we can't show the evidence. So let's talk about, how you think this is, how this is possible. So meaning you're able to use these devices and you're able to pick up these sounds, and then we're able to listen to it and forensically analyzing and verifying it. We don't know why it's you, and we don't know who it is, but
right.
What do you believe? You must. Where do you sit with that? You're raised Christian, but not Christian. Who is behind this? Who do you believe?
All right. So there's 2 parts, and I'm going to sound like a politician. One side of me is very rational and says this cannot be something supernatural. That there are nefarious groups that, and whether they're state actors or whether they're, big corporate people using regular people as guinea pigs, whether they're broadcasting some kind of signal in the military sense, that's the rational part of me that says the alien exotic idea, the fringe, that just doesn't seem as likely. But that's my rational mind. My gut tells me, no, in this case, we're not that advanced. And no matter what, our military and any kind of CIA op, they can't cover they couldn't be so sloppy to allow me to get this kind of evidence. It would make no sense that anyone would want to know, hey, we can already read people's minds and we can anticipate what they're going to say, and maybe even through this signal whisper in their ear to affect mind control or to have a person. So, because I can't interpret it on a conscious level. I mean, there's always a subconscious or, that subliminal fingerprint that I was talking about in the clip. If that's true, what kind of defenses could we have against something like that? I mean, you talk about the tinfoil hat. I mean, so I interact with aerospace engineers as well. And I believe in Occam's razor. You know what that is, right? That
I am not familiar with that. No.
Occam's razor, the philosophy is the theory that has the least number of variables. The theory that is simplest is usually the right one, because the more exotic, the more exceptions you have to make for something to be true, the more likely that's not going to happen. That's not going to be the case. Almost like a weather forecast. When you have the storm has to do this, this, and this for you to get snow, it's probably not going to happen. But, the simplest explanation, Occam's razor, and it's OCC, you can look it up, is usually the right one, because it's not so cumbersome. Doesn't mean it's impossible that something's not more complicated. So the Occam's razor to me and my gut feeling is that these are energies. Someone would say, are they aliens? They say they're alien and otherworldly. They don't say they're ghosts, but I have evidence that they play games. So, and they like playing games, with us. They're kind of condescending. So I'm like, why should I trust anything you say? You're probably not even an alien. And so I try to be realistic here and say, my gut tells me that there's something that's not man-made. All right. That maybe ultra-terrestrial, something that's been invisible here, cryptid. I mean, I actually had one of these professionals in a different report that basically said that they believe there's a cryptid, that one of the things that they were able to peel away information-wise seemed to have them believe this is some kind of, like a ultra-terrestrial. I don't know. And and I have over 1,800 clips where I ask questions, and I've asked questions for researchers, and I've asked questions, obviously, personal reasons. I mean, the example to understand the kind of, not just pigeons, but the kind of trivia these creatures, beings, ethereal entities are into. During the beginning of the pandemic, the schools were closed and we were all working from home. All right. So the local school my kids go to was handing out food that they would usually have for the week. They were handing it out in boxes. You had to get in line. There's a long line around the school. You sit in your vehicle and you drive up and you get your food that your kids would have for the week. So we're in line. All right. And there's a sense of humor about these entities too. And a sense of humor that I have, which I think sometimes they latch on to maybe some similarities, and maybe that's the common denominator we have between us and them. That's a bridge we can build, the sense of humor. But we're waiting in line. Suddenly the ear ringing happens. My kids are in the back seat. All right. And we're sitting in my van, and I make a joke and say, kids, I think I'm going to have to take this call, Now it's a joke, right? But I push record, and I didn't ask a question, but upon playback, a very strong Class A EVP is heard, and it's a voice that says, they don't use the food. Okay. So I have now a long-standing history already with interacting with these ethereal entities. And I'm like, okay, so we got our food, and I went home to my wife, and I said, is there something we're throwing away? Is there food that we're just tossing out? And I said, because this is charitable. These people are giving it to us. She said, no. I said, because I feel like I'm being judged. I feel like I'm being accused of wasting food here by ethereal beings. And I said, what does this mean? And so she said, we give some to your parents. Why don't you go ask them? Because some of the stuff that we didn't use, like the rice and stuff. So I went down there, and mom and dad, they're like, oh, no, we don't like it. We just throw that in a trash can. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. So it doesn't mean that is the case, but there's a sense of these beings are making a report to someone. All right. You're like, okay, we're being judged. Yeah, you're wasting food, yet you're taking charitable food. It's just
see, when I'm listening to you describe that and hearing that, I'm thinking humans. I'm just thinking government, just from listening to it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it could be ethereal. It could
Right.
be supernatural, ultra terrestrial. It can be all those things until they tell you. But I mean, as far as the intent goes, if they are mischievous,
Yeah.
and they are intentionally trying to spoil or cause harm, I mean, that sounds like an operation. That sounds planned.
Right.
Because it's one thing to broadcast a message through these very low or high frequencies, and then all of a sudden we're able to pick them up, transmute that, and then communicate that, but not knowing where it comes from. But you're getting feedback. So whoever is responsible for it, or whoever is responsible for it, is aware that it's communicating with you,
Right.
and is also aware that you are able to communicate with them. And then at that point, it becomes a whole different game of possession, if you will, or visitation, because you're now communicating.
Right.
So when you communicate with them, and by them, you don't know if it's the same, you don't know if it's others and multiple, or do you? Can you tell the difference between one being or another?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Let me describe it like this. Each being, there's a certain voice that comes with certain beings, and the being, if it comes and speaks another time, like I said, they always seem to be tasked with the same message. So a certain voice will have a certain kind of message. So I have like a little boy. It sounds like a little boy talking to me, and he calls me daddy. All right, now think about that. And he says, "Daddy, do this. Daddy, do." So this voice is always prescriptive, saying do something, get the blood work, things like that. So and I got the blood work for that, and I found out I was pre-diabetic. But I'm just like, okay. But then you have a female voice who sounds almost like a grandmother. All right, now a little backstory here, which is important. Context is important. My wife, her name is Antje. She heralds from what used to be East Germany. All right. And she's been in the States now since 1990. We got married in 2000, but she's in the late 90s. And the beings know her name, but when they talk, and they will talk to her through this devices, I'm saying she doesn't get the earring, but I know when I say, okay, push record. They say the female voice that says her name sounds Germanic, sounds the way, because her name is Anya. Right. The way they say it, that clip I could also share, but again, I don't know how we do it here. They say they are able to inflect. Now, again, is it a game? I am so open-minded. And when I say that, maybe you can say undecided, that in my mind, there could be one small microbe of an entity that's sentient, that is aware, that has the ability to be a ventriloquist. All right. You look at the sense of, I'm going to be even more open with the humor. All right. One time I was doing a session. That's what I call it. And I've taped myself. I don't fall into some trance. I don't do any kind of chants. There's no, I don't have to, go through any kind of ritual to get an interaction. So when this happens and I film myself, I'm not, talking out the side of my mouth. I'm not going and having seizures. This has all been tested by others as well. I went to Johns Hopkins and stuff. So there are big studies going on. It's crazy stuff. But the one time I had some very spicy food that made me gassy. Okay. So right before the session, I, passed gas. I farted. Okay. Now listen. So as soon as the ear ringing starts and I push record, upon playback, you hear a female voice saying, "He let a stinker." Okay.
Oh wow.
Now think about it. Just the idea that that if it is something otherworldly that I can't perceive.
They understand the culture. They understand what happens. They understand us. So there is that human element. So it could be government alive in this world, or it could be humans who have passed on.
Sure.
I mean, there's or interdimensionally, someone is watching, someone is observing, someone is paying attention.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are they telling you to do? Because there's evidence that you guys can communicate, and there's evidence that that you talk and they receive, and they know that if they talk, you hear. Right. So if they were in control, what are they telling you to do?